Ba-da-da-ba-ba-da-ba. Welcome to the In-Between with Carrie and
Alex. Thank you for joining us, Beth.
Oh, you're so welcome. Thank you so much for having me today.
So we first of all just want to say a shout out to Stay Up Networks. What's their tag, Alex?
It's you. Give.
So well delivered.
It was here. I had to get serious for a second because it's real.
Okay. It's real, and it's a great opportunity and platform. So I am particularly thrilled because I picked this guest, so I get to say why I picked you, Beth. So the reason I picked Beth as our person to talk about what makes her tick in the in-between, what sustains us in between and during all the chaos and the stress and the not knowing and the knowing and the success, is because Beth is one of the most positive people I've ever met. And I say that having only been in the room with her about 4 times. She's a casting director. She casts lots of projects, but we're not going to do the acting conversation about all that today. It'll come up, but that's not what this is about. Sure. But each time I've walked in the room, we end up with this electric conversation about something, and she makes me feel good about my audition, about what I've done, and then we just start talking, and I walk out of there, and I'm literally going, hallelujah! I feel totally uplifted, and so I want to know what is behind all that. Why, Beth, you are so incredibly positive. So we're going to dive in to simple questions about your childhood, just to find a little bit about who you are.
So I just want
That's awesome.
Since Carrie introduced you and knows you, I get to conduct this first get to know you section. And since she's saying that, you're so positive and you can transform any situation into a joyful dialogue, I'm going to test you for the next hour on that. Okay. Just kidding. Can you imagine?
Yes, I could. I'm resilient, Alex. I'm ready for it all.
Gotcha journalism. How did you get the name Beth?
Okay, so I'm named after my aunt, but I think my parents were like super tired by the time they had me. My sister's 14 years older, my brother's 9. My mom had 6 miscarriages between my sister and myself. I was born in 1969, the year the man landed on the moon. My mom took some freaky drug and they had her sit at home, and somehow here I was. So my dad actually was 9 years older than my mom. My dad would be like 94. So I'm named after my mother's sister, Elizabeth, but truly no middle name. They forgot the Eliza. They just went with Beth, and it was just Beth Lipari, and that's what I've been my whole life.
Wow. Thank you. The images of Wicked flashed through my mind, and your mother drinking something green and you coming out like Elphaba. But anyway.
If I could something like her, Alex.
So I know you're defying gravity. What was your relationship in classrooms growing up? Like, what was your role?
I would dress in Eddie Van Halen all over my body, probably come in roller skates. You definitely but I loved life, but definitely my own being. I was pretty great, I think, until 8th grade, and then I started getting artistic and doing that kind of thing. And I had issues at home. I grew up in a wild family. And I think by the time 8th or 9th grade hit, I kind of went into a different personality, kind of, not an alter personality, just a more mature personality, I guess. I had to grow up a little bit quicker at a certain time, and so that kind of changed things, I think, for me.
Where'd you grow up? What part of the country is this in?
I grew up in Westfield, New Jersey. It's 135 off the Parkway. New York's like a hop, skip, and a jump. It's 25 minutes from where I grew up. So I had that. I had the culture of New York. I loved New York. I mean, I'm so old, you guys, that at 18 they were drinking. So we used to go at 15 and have beers and we were crazy. We grew up in the 70s, 80s. I just tell my kids though that people used to smoke on airplanes. That just blows my mind. Or how we used to smoke in the subway stations together, and there was non-smoking and smoking on an airline.
That worked.
Right. Yeah, you're the youngest person on this call, by the way.
Absolutely, by the way.
I am.
Okay.
Awesome.
Top secret information.
What's your first computer?
Gosh, probably when I started casting. I'm not joking. That's so crazy. I didn't have my first cell phone until I think I was 31 or 32. And I didn't have my first cell phone until 31, 32. And I don't know, I think a Mac was my first computer, probably because I composed music. And so I had to learn Pro Tools. So I had to get the Pro Tools and learn how to orchestrate through that, because I can't read, but I can, but I write music.
What kind of zone do you have to be in? Like, do you have to be in a certain space to write music, or do you write it all the time? What's your music writing part?
All day long. I play piano all day long, and I literally comes from my head, and I just love it. It's my whole life. As far as like a creative love, yes.
Wow.
So I wish, is there a piano in front of you right now? Wouldn't that be cool?
There is a piano near me. Would you like to?
You want to play a little something?
Yeah, I can play. I mean, I'd have to take you with me.
Let's go. We're on a trip now. This is travel pandemic.
Okay, this is still crazy, and who knows what you'll see, because
Did everybody get their permission slip signed?
Oh my gosh,
Yeah, this is
Trip.
so funny. I don't know how I do it, but I'll try.
Okay, this is cool.
He's gonna. Hi, Miles. Hold on one second. I'm actually on for just a second, and I'll be right there.
All right.
Harry, can you see?
We are live. We are
That's
open.
what I do with their piano lessons when they're Zooming. Can you see me now?
We totally see you.
Oh, awesome.
And you've got a nice other earthly glow in the background.
I was thinking about the whole George Floyd thing, actually, and I was writing, so. Stuff like that. And then so I like be doing that, and that's like kind of like my head, and then I can write like regular stuff, you know?
Wow.
Oh my gosh.
That was amazing. So that, I mean, I have one more childhood question I want to ask you, but then I want to go right into that zone, because you just showed us a part of you that was incredible. So,
Thank you so much.
and both pieces, the George Floyd stuff was really moving, and I got teary, and then you played this thing that started Bach-ish and went off into the universe. So, wow. So I just want to ask my favorite question, and then I really want to go into what that was. What the hell was that? That was amazing. It was amazing. Thank you. Thank you. When you were a kid, were there certain things you did or qualities in you that are totally about what you're doing now? Like your passions now, did you see it when you were 5 or 6? Like if someone looked back and said, oh, she was doing this.
Yes, my whole life.
Your whole life.
Yes, I'm very clear on my purpose here.
How old were you when you knew your purpose?
Very young.
How young?
Pretty young, like 7 or 8. I knew that I was gonna do different things because I tapped into piano pretty young. My mom and dad had me at the piano pretty young, and I couldn't read, so I had to play by like ear and in my head. And I don't know. My parents always, I grew up in a dysfunctional family, but I know I was loved and I had a lot of like confidence. And I grew up around such older people that I don't know. I just knew. I used to like go in my room and like sing and like I knew like I was like, I'm going to be on Broadway. I want to be on Broadway. And I knew I was going to do that. And I wanted to compose music and I knew I was going to compose music. And
wow.
Casting is like the only thing I didn't know, only because I got pregnant and I needed, which is a great thing. That sounded like I got pregnant. That sounded so awful, but like I needed insurance. And so I got into that, and then that changed my whole trajectory.
So you weren't like telling dolls what roles they were going to play or anything like that? Not so much.
The dolls. So as a very young person, like, to yourself, how did you articulate that mission? What were you saying your purpose was?
Things like I knew, like my grandmother always said, like you have 10 geniuses within you at all time. Don't deny them, right? Like I knew, like my dad loved baseball. I wanted to like impress my dad. I wanted to be the first female baseball player. I know that sounds crazy, but I grew up with the New York Yankees because my uncle was in business with Lou Piniella forever. They had a restaurant called Sweet Lou's in Jersey. And so I used to hang out in like the Yankee Stadium dugout and like I'd be with them, and I wanted to be a boy, I think, for a long time, even though it wasn't like a transgendery type thing, or for me, it was just, I felt masculine and I was always okay with that. I always wore corduroys and I wanted to be, I don't know. I know I'm going non-linear, but it was just, I felt a lot of things inside me. I knew I could play piano. I knew I wanted to do athletic things. I never thought about what I couldn't do. I guess is the thing. It was, what can I do? It wasn't about, I didn't get that. I was actually completely oblivious that there were barriers in front of me.
Wow. Did you play baseball?
Oh God, I really can play. Like,
okay.
Yeah, I did like varsity softball, and I really did want to be the first female baseball player. I mean, we used to go down to the shore, because we were mafia. My uncles owned some stuff, crazy stuff, and we would throw balls and pitch balls all day long. Yeah, I love baseball.
Mitts are one of my favorite things to do.
Carrie, we're going to do a baseball after this. We'll have a baseball game. We'll throw some balls around in the park and talk life.
There's nothing better than that feeling of grabbing it and then throwing it. I love my husband and I got the Mitts. Yay. Okay, very cool.
A Dodger game too together. That'd be fun.
All right, field trip. We got it. Very cool.
So how does that that feeling of, purpose in life translate through your fingers, translate through the things you do?
The piano's weird because I don't think about it. That's the only, because I had so much dysfunction, I think I have control issues a lot of times, like everything in its place. I have a little OCD. I have my own little, but the piano is like the one place that I just don't live anywhere, like in the normal universe. When I'm there, I'm just in my own world. So then is that what you were asking? Like, how do I know?
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Let me ask you, do you have any training? Because your technique.
So, like when I was little, I studied with this woman. This is a crazy story. I studied with this woman, Susie Hannah, in Western New Jersey. She was like a Miss America. She was so beautiful. And then I stopped at like 9 because I think she thought that she'd given me a love of piano, but that I was kind of moving on. And so then I studied with a Russian teacher, Sandra Tamam, who was just extraordinary. and used to like beat my hand down because I have a really bad pinky. It always goes up. But she stuck me in MEA competitions. And some people are really good with structure like that and needing that competition. And I hated it. I hated everything about it. And so I decided to play softball. And she was like, it's softball or piano. And I was, you know, a dumb kid, and I left it. I mean, I left it. My parents were devastated at 14. They were like, thought I was going to go to Juilliard, and they, you know, do that whole thing. But I mean, the truth of the matter is I've been around a lot of composers, and I have a lot of friends who are just ridiculously gifted. And, you know, when you work in film and stuff, yes, I could like sell my music, but there's people who orchestrate and do and know music. I wouldn't be able to tell you right now what key that was in.
I love that.
I couldn't tell you what, you know what I mean? So there's a business to music. And I think my best kept secret is the piano, because I think it's what's keep me sane.
It ain't a secret no more. But I get
Right.
but I get that it's like a deeply almost. Sorry, Alex, I missed that. What did you say?
Oh, I just wanted to compliment you, Beth, on your pinky work. It looked like you really resolved those issues.
Thank you. She beat me with a ruler. She was like,
but
arm flap I just saw going on there. Okay.
It seems like that the piano is completely yours, and it felt like you owned it, and it's yours, and it doesn't need to be out in the business world kind of thing, but that it seems a part of your being in an amazing way.
Well, it kind of ties into like why you had me on here, because I was thinking like I wasn't planning any of that, but I mean, I'm just saying like the positivity of like, how does one stay sane?
Yes.
How does one stay sane within these moments? How do you, you know, I think in the arts, if that's what we're talking about, people in the arts, it's so important to just live. And not always be about a business, and not always, because those moments that you enjoyed in there had nothing to do with any business. And those moments for me that I enjoy in there that give me solitude have nothing to do with it. And some people can do that and make it a business and be wonderful and cross the two. And some people don't. Right? Like that's me. I literally, while I was playing, I was like shaking the whole time, thinking I could never do this I feel comfy with you. And I was just so honored to be here. So that was a spur of the moment. But had you previously talked to me, I'd be like, oh no, there's no way I'm doing that. You know, so.
I
Go ahead, Alex. Go.
I'm just so encouraged that you went with it. You know, like I think it's a secret to your success of like this childlike spontaneity. I'm not gonna judge this. I'm just gonna do it.
I actually I do bring that into casting, because I think in casting it can be a killer for artists. So hard for artists, I think, to stay positive and do it. And like I told you, Carrie, like it's hard. Like I can go play piano. What are you gonna do? You like go in front of a mirror. You're like, let me do my monologue in front of the mirror and myself again.
Enough. Say monologue again.
Now you create, you write, you do all those things. But I was just saying, like when I was younger, I was like, what will I do with that? Yeah, I don't know.
There's the solitariness of being an actor. If you're not performing with somebody, it's really hard to find that that zone that you were in, unless you're on set or on stage or working a scene with somebody. But to find that thing by yourself, and I think that's part of what you're talking about, is you've got this world that no one touches, but you've shared it with us.
Important.
Yeah.
Important. We all have that, by the way. There is that. And every, like when you really think, like and you write too, don't you?
Yeah, we both do. Yeah.
Oh, Alex, you write?
Yes.
Oh, Alex, so you are in that world. You guys do that every day. You do that every day then.
But it's not touching on, for me, I have a writing partner that is not Alex, this is a guy I've been working with for 20 years or something, lives in Seattle. And I love that. But the zone you were touching, I'm not like oh my God, I've been struck and now I'm in a zone of writing and I can't stop. It's not that, which is like that passionate zone that it looks like you can get into with your piano. I mean, I have that relationship when I sing, and Alex sings, absolutely. And I also have it when I hit a ball against a wall. I love hitting balls with a racket. I get into a zone.
Wait a minute. You're an athlete like crazy, but wait, you're both musical theater as well?
Yes.
We've had
What, like, okay, where do you come from? What's going on?
all the phone.
Oh, yeah, I'm learning it. I'm doing it, that thing. Okay. Childhood stuff's really good. That's a very good, those are really, I've never had anyone ask me childhood stuff. That gets right to it.
Yeah, let's keep staying in
You have
it.
a psychology degree? Is that your,
I do, yeah,
you do?
I do. It was the best acting degree I could get.
I went in thinking I was going to save the world one couch at a time, but it turned out to just be great for everything, especially writing and acting.
Yeah, empathy
Right,
training.
Good. What's that?
Pardon, is that how you met?
We just met through acting, not through psychology. No, we just met in a basic acting workshop thingy. And I just loved Alex's energy too. When I respond to energy, I'm like, okay, something's happening here. When I have oh, I wish I could be their friend, then sometimes it actually happens. And it happened in this case. So you put the piano down to make a statement. Was there a dramatic picking it back up again, or did you put it down just publicly and keep going?
I put it down, and then I did, what did I do? I wanted to play softball. I did that, and then things got really crazy in my family. And then from about 11th grade, I guess, till like 24, I lost a lot of family members. Like I lost my father, I lost my boyfriend, died in a motorcycle accident, my dad died of a massive heart attack on Christmas. It was just crazy stuff. Like my little baby cousin died of sick. I lost like 7 or 8, and I just didn't do anything. I didn't do softball. I didn't do piano. I came back. When my dad passed away, I was at my first year of college, and I had run his travel agency business, and I was the only one who knew how to get them out of it, because he kind of left it when he passed. So then I went home and I left school, and I ran his travel agency, and then I sold it with my mom. And then I was in Westfield, New Jersey, and I met a friend at a video store that used to exist. And he said, you should try out for this place called AMDA. I remember you used to sing and act. And I was like, oh yeah. And then I did, and I got in. And then like I left there. It was like a 2-year program. And then I was on 3 national tours back to back. And then I was on Broadway like 3 or 4 years later. And then I did that. I was in Grease on Broadway. I was Frenchie. I played that forever. I was in that Rosie O'Donnell production. And then loved it. And then I was like taking a bow at the Eugene O'Neill, and I saw my mom, and I was so proud. And then I remember thinking, yeah, I'm done here. I'm going to move on to the next thing. And then I left. Yes, I know, I'm so crazy.
Oh, how does that work?
I was fine with it. I just couldn't imagine it getting any better. And all those friends are still my best friends today. Almost every single one of those greasers, you'd be amazed. That's like Sutton Foss. I'm not best friends with Sutton. Sutton went on and is Sutton, like amazing. But like Marissa Jatwinoker, I'm still like, best friends with. That group was Billy Porter, Sutton Foster, Marissa Jatwinoker, Ty Taylor. It was like the craziest group of. And plus it was like Brooke Shields and Al Jarreau and Chubby Checker, and just, that was like the crazy Grease with like Linda Blair's head going around Times Square. This is going way back. And I just felt like I had it. And then I traveled cross country, and I lived at Sally Struthers' house for a long time. She used to own the old Rita Hayworth house. That was amazing. Had an elevator. I was a kid. And I woke up in the middle of the night in that house, and I went downstairs and I started playing piano. And it was like, I was like 27, and I looked at her, and it was a mess what I was playing, but she came down and she was like, what are you doing? And I was like, I have all this music in my head. I have no idea what's going on. Oh, wow. So I was like, I'm going to pack up. So I packed up and I moved out to North Hollywood, and I rented a piano, and I stayed inside for 2 years, and I just played. I spent all the money I made on Grease.
And you just played piano for 2 years. So that's a huge in between. You had this zone of, I'm stopping this.
Stopping it and then totally laughing. Came back like 12 years later, 13 years later. And it's really amazing what happens during that time.
Yes.
Yeah, because I created my own voice. I had my own voice then. I wasn't trying to like be perfect at someone else's music.
Oh, wow. So
yeah, I actually now, like if I play for Elise now, I love it so much because I play like I wrote it. I pretend like I wrote it in my head when I'm playing it so that I don't get tripped up on all those like, and this has to be perfectly soft. And I never understood all that. I never understood going to a teacher and them telling me how music was supposed to be played, but the whole reason I'm playing it is because I'm playing it. Right? Like, that's why you're acting. You don't tell somebody how to act. I mean, that's ridiculous.
That's genius. That's really genius.
You can direct people. You can direct people and make them open up like you just did with me in this interview. But to actually tell somebody how to act, that's why I get really confused with the whole
So in a way, I was going to ask you earlier, I was thinking if there could be a Beth Lipari book of philosophy, the first tenet of it is coming out now, which is do everything as if it's your own. Don't.
It is.
It's got to be motivated internally.
Yeah, it really is. And that's also like the thing, like I was telling my kids the other day too, like just never stop dreaming, because I really, like the older I get, the more fearful. I can feel the fear trying to like penetrate me as I get older. I'm always like, fear's a fucking liar, I mean, not to the kids, I'm like, fear's a liar, but to myself, I'm like, fear is, yeah. And anyway, so I think that, we do all have our own uniqueness. I don't like formulaic things.
I want to talk about fear because I love talking about fear because I do, because I had a major, I'm done with it. Because when I realized my life was not on the line, this was all choice, fear, I just said, fuck it, you're gone, done. Yes. But it took a lot. I walked across fire in my 20s. I did a lot of things thinking I was going to get rid of fear, and it didn't quite work. It was an interesting experience. The fire coal thing, when the fire walking stuff was big. I was like, yeah, sign me up. I want to be a better actor. I'm walking across fire.
Isn't it funny how we go right to the outside and walking across fire as opposed to like the immediate inside?
Talk about that. So talk about talk about fear and you and how you go through it and what your thought is about it.
When I have fear, I usually get completely crazy, like Roseanne period crazy, and Roseanne when she was on TV. Not this crazy newest version when I was a kid growing up, like that PMS moment where you're just like, I'm nuts. Okay, so I have that, and I get really crippled that I'm not doing enough. That's my biggest fear, is that I'm wasting time. There's not enough time in the day for me. Like I woke up this morning, right? I'm literally do have a job. I'm still, thank God, I have a job and I'm working right now. But like when I think about the day, like I have 2 beautiful children, right? My husband, my dog, my house, that should be it. Like that should be enough for one person to feel like I feel good and I'm doing stuff and but no. And then like, I know that I have like 9 projects swirling and I'm still wondering why I'm not doing more. So that is a problem, I think. That's like something I need to like check on myself, because like, what's that about? So even though I'm like positive and I don't believe in fear, and fear usually like means that I add something onto my plate, I don't know if I'm really doing myself the greatest service, but I try not to beat myself up and I try to just go with it. But as I'm talking to you and I'm hearing myself talk, I'm like, oh, that's an issue there. Thanks, guys. This was like free therapy at like 12 in the afternoon.
Oh, we're gonna Venmo you later. We're gonna. So you're saying that as you've gotten older, you've actively had to deal with the fear.
Yes.
But before, there was just that time when you either felt fearless or you could make the fear go away more
At
easily?
first, it was because I lost so many people to death that I just knew that life was so short at such a young age that I don't get held up on the bullshit of certain things that I think a lot of people care about.
Hmm.
I don't care about a lot of things like that. Like if you hurt me and then you apologize, I'm on and done. People hold on to a lot of shit. We could be in a thing and the next day I could be literally fine. I can release things very quickly.
Hmm.
And that is just from a survival technique of being in a dysfunctional family and having what I had, I think, on me. And may I say that I think when we come from being dysfunctional, this is another reason I think I actually am positive. I was just telling my friend the other day, my past describes me. It does not define me. And I think a lot of people like to be defined or by how their past describes them. For example, I could definitely, if I sat in a shrink's office, I've seen them go like, whoa, she's dealt with a lot, right? But I don't look at it that way. Like I've heard them call my family things in a shrink's office and I'm like, yeah, but you don't understand. That's not how I ingested it. That's like your textbook ingestion of it. Like I knew my father was hurting, so I wasn't mad at my father. I don't carry those things. I knew he was hurting, so when he passed, I was like okay with it because I felt like he released himself. So I wasn't freaked out about like death. I don't get freaked out by death. I don't get freaked out by those kind of things. I have fear about my own worth, I think. That's the fear I'm trying to, like I have more belief, I think, in like I could like sit and like work with you two and never like worry, right? But I'll have my own worry.
How do you tackle that as Beth Lipari? Like now you say that's what I've got. So what do you do with that once you know that that's something
I'm trying to write now. I'm trying to write just one series about my life, and it's okay if it never gets published, but I think that will be my therapy. Will be that I'll just need to write it out for myself and map it out. Because I do get lost sometimes about like, how am I here in 2020 with these kids in Santa Clarita? You know, I mean, like I grew up just in Jersey, New York with 18 cousins. My dad and his brother married my mom and her sister. We have like the same maternal and paternal grandparents. I grew up very insular with a huge Italian family, and to be out here in California, you know, like with 2 kids, no family line, and my parents were so much older that I don't feel like I got the tools. There's like a whole generation of women that are raising kids that, you know, that generation before them didn't work or didn't know how to, like when I'm on with my mom, she's like, "Beth, you work so much, just quit." Like that's possible. Like, oh, I don't need the house or the, you know, the paycheck or the insurance or anything, you know, because that's how it used to be, you know, like they just didn't, you know, so I get tripped up by that. I get tripped up by like the waking up in 2020 and doing it all. And then when like the pandemic hit with the homeschooling, here's what I did. Here's a positive for all mothers. Give up the control. It's lost. Just bye-bye 2020. Enjoy this time for what it's worth. It's a special, I think, productive time if we can get out of our heads about what we're missing. Everybody's missing that. See, that's the thing. We're all, you know what I mean? Like the only thing I could never speak on is like the politics of what's going on outside of the world. That's a whole other thing. This is just for our own, you know, time during the pandemic and stuff. And I'm talking to moms who I know, like that homeschooling really threw me for a loop. It made me realize what a control freak I am. That I had to like let it go. Whoa, so what am I talking about here on this?
If you could like if our kids listened to our advice and took it hook, line, and sinker, I mean, I always wish I could say the right thing and they'd go, "I've got it, thank you." What would you want your kids to have if they listen to what were the points that you want to make sure they get?
Oh, I tell them every day. I really know. I mean, really, I tell them 3 things because it has to be simpler for kids. You can wake up happy or sad, and you go through the day happy or sad. Those are the only 2 choices. Like, you really have those choices. You can choose to be this or that. It's okay to be either, but just know you're making a choice to do that. so that they know they can express their feelings and have those anger days, but that is a choice they're making, just as it's a choice to have to wake up and try to be happy. So that's one thing. Kindness is huge. It's everything. I always tell them, I don't care what grades you bring home, as long as you bring home kindness in your heart and you deliver kindness at school. Those are the real tools. And also I told them they have to like just love whatever they're doing, like not to worry about us, that it's their life, not my life. I never want them thinking that they have to do something for me, because that's not how it works. I'm here to guide my children. I'm not here to like rule my children. I think kids need stability and like love and understanding of that, but they also need the freedom to be able to make like huge mistakes. And I do worry for this generation, because I was able to get on a bike and go for like 10 hours a day and not come home till it was like lunch or blah, blah, blah. And kids, they're just so helicoptered. And I'm one of those. I'm a culprit of it too. Like, you know, I can't just send my fifth grader right now out for 3 hours outside. That's really weird for me. That's the stuff I mean about being a parent where we're so lost. Because I don't know what I'm doing to my kids. And I don't know what this whole thing, like my kids started the school year, like there was a school shooting in their hometown where children died. A gunman went in Saugus. It was a terrible, terrible time in the community. And as you can imagine, there had already been so many previous shootings. But when you drop your fifth grader off, and they ask you if they're going to get killed that day at school, that's...
Oh my God. What do you say?
For me, that's what I mean about like, I don't want him growing in fear. And why I think, but that kind of fear is actually real fear. I say, no. Because I don't know. And I don't know, but I'm not going to say I don't know, because I don't know. I mean, like, how would he, I don't know. That was a very weird day. Actually, that day, I actually wanted to write that in the show, because I live in a very conservative town, which is fine as well. Everybody can have their voice. But, and the woman who's two in front of me, she owns a gun shop. So she has like a car gun thing, and it like spins around like a cigarette thing. And he actually asked me, am I going to get killed that day? And will that woman protect me? And he meant the woman too in front of him with the gun thing. It was just too much for me. Because, and that's what I mean about women, when you see moms and you wonder why we're so nuts, because, I didn't know that when I was pregnant with my children. I wasn't expecting that.
I have to just tell you, I think you're a phenomenal mom. Like, I've never heard of anybody so consistently engraving in their children's hearts these 3 beautiful points that will set them up for life.
Thank
like,
you so
to
much.
hear that from a mother, it's beautiful.
Thank you. And that is really and truly an honor, because that is my mother. My mother is that and was that for me. I never felt unloved from my mother. She, even that's the great thing. Like, even though there was like discord, I mean, like they were split up, and my dad was a raging alcoholic, and we had things, but I just knew we were loved. I just knew, and I just knew how to react in those times. I don't know, it's very weird.
It was, as I was listening to you talk to your kids about the 3 things you want, and that you knew it right away. And instantly I thought, my daughter's actually staying right across, she's 27, she finished graduate school, and she's staying in an apartment that we had as an Airbnb. So she's right across the deck from me right now. And I almost said, could you just excuse me for a second? I was going over and say, be kind, and being happy and sad is a choice. And I was going to tell her all that. I was thinking, oh my God, I don't think I've told her those things in that way. I mean, we live those things, but to have it so clearly there. So I just want to, add mine to Alex, that the kind of mom you are and the kind of mom you model, it's not only that you know exactly what to say when we ask that question, you tell them that, but you model it, it sounds like. And you live in, when people see you, your public self is someone choosing to be happy.
Well, may I also say I have terrible times. And may I also say that, like, I scream and I yell, and I have terrible days where they're like, absolutely not. But I do know that they know that they're loved, because we come back within like a moment.
Mm-hmm.
That's the other thing. Like, we have to allow ourselves not to be so perfect either. You know what I mean? Like, I always tell them, you know, if I get mad with my kids, you know what I do? I apologize. If I'm like shit, if I'm a shitty person, I literally apologize. I think a lot of parents do not apologize. And I think kids apologize all the time. They fight all the time. They're 2 years apart and we're in quarantine. I'm lucky there's not like knives like coming out of people's heads. And like, they're good kids, you know? And like, and I see that like they get in it and then they stop. And, you know, so like sometimes like if I'm just like, you know, mommy has to go away for a minute, but also we're here all day long. You know that, right?
Yeah.
That's a little different scenario. Because usually you get like a 2-hour break. And I just don't want it coming off that I was like this like saint, because I'm not at all. I'm not, you know what I mean? Like, but I do definitely, and I think any of my friends would attest that that is my main thing. Kindness, 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 kindness. It goes so fucking far. And also just having the ego is a very dangerous thing. We need it, and it's there for a very special reason, but it can get very negative too. You know, like I tell, you know, I mean, he has friends that like parents, there's some really shitty parents. You know, like I had his friend over here, Lucas, and he said, oh, I heard them talking. Oh, so-and-so said I couldn't come to his house because of the color of his skin. That kind of stuff, you know, that infuriates me. And that's the kind of stuff where we do need to immediately like speak out and speak up. And like I tell Miles, you know, you know, you have to speak up for your friends and stuff. I don't know how I got on all that, but I was just thinking about him and what's going on for a minute. And I was just thinking, it starts so young.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the immediate apology is a part of your philosophy too, because I mean, there are adults that are waiting for their parents to apologize who aren't alive anymore. And we're still waiting for that. You know, if we just got that apology.
Yeah. We always grew up though talking. I think that's really cool too. Like just at the dinner table, it's really nice to be able to, I curse around my kids.
Hell
Like
yeah.
sailor. Like a sailor. And I know my son loves it, and my daughter is so embarrassed by it. You know, but I'm not going to stop, because I want them to know that they can be uncomfortable and still love somebody. And I want them, my dad he always made me, you know, uncomfortable at times. But, you know, when I'm older and I look back on it, you know, he gave me a lot of my balls and my like funness. I like that. You got to loosen up a little too. You know, humor's super, 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 super important.
Absolutely.
I love you. Absolutely.
I'm blown away by
a good humor.
Huh?
What, Alex?
I'm blown away by you as a human being, Beth. Like, and I'm so glad you like have been so from the heart and honest. Like, I don't think anybody has gotten the impression that you're trying to only put the positive forward and just look perfect, because it is all parts of us that are encouraging. And the fact that you show what you have to overcome at every moment, that's what's so encouraging about you. It's really.
You. I'd love to know about you more. I can't do it now, I know. That would be erroneous. But
so yeah, we can get on the phone after if you want. But yeah, meanwhile, so just if you were a dog, Beth, what would you chase?
Oh gosh, okay. I have my like definite X-rated thing. If I was a dog, what would I chase? Oh God, Carrie, I have no idea. I never live in an animal zone. Although I think people look like animals. If I was a dog, what would I chase? I know it wouldn't be my fucking tail. Okay. Let's see. I don't know. I think I would just keep running if I was a dog.
Okay. And I like not your tail.
Chasing. I'm going to be honest. Like, I guess the real answer is I wouldn't be chasing anything because nothing came to my mind. But what came to my mind was that I would just run. Look back. Yeah.
What's a favorite movie that you like to watch with your family?
Ugh, Toy Story. I love that animated. I love Toy Story.
And what's
Another kindness tale. Sorry, I'm just kidding.
excellent kindness tale. And when you're alone and you don't want them around, what do you go to? Movie or TV show?
Okay, I love documentaries. I watch a lot of I'm a documentary, like I've been ingesting. I just watched last night I just finished Epstein's, the documentary on Epstein. I don't recommend documentaries during a pandemic unless you have like a solid heart. And also my thing that I love that like my guilty pleasure is I totally watch the Desperate Housewives, and I love every freaking minute of it and every single one of them and all of their dysfunction.
Nice.
And when they fight or they cat fight, I really, but I would never, my husband really gives me shit when I watch it, so.
Do you ever have any guilt with your pleasure, or is it total pleasure with no guilt?
Total pleasure, no guilt. I lock myself in a room and I still have fun. I am an adult. I'm allowed to have fun after 9 o'clock, aren't I?
Cool. Is there a song that you rock out to? Like if you ever sing by yourself, like, or when you were a teenager, if you were in your own room and you just wanted to be on Broadway in your head, is there a song that totally sends you?
I grew up like Prince. I grew up like I watched Prince on, I just love anything that Prince did when I was a kid. I just was obsessed with him. Obsessed. You know what I rock out to? AC/DC. We did a lot of, Van Halen. I saw them at Madison Square Garden. I saw Prince at Madison Square Garden. Madonna on her beatbox. I'm an 80s kid. So we grew up with a lot of cocaine, big hair, crazy music. That was like what was out in the world when, we were teenagers going in. It was a wild time. Music's very personal though for me, like, because I grew up, I love the big band era. That's so cheesy, but like my dad, all those instruments, Glenn Miller, all that jazz, I love all that too. And I love, obviously, classical music.
Very cool. Do you dance?
Oh my God, I am a turkey. I have 2 feet. My first Broadway show was a Tommy Tune show. And I had people who were already in the Broadway show teaching it to me the night before, and I had to go in. Yeah, I can't dance at all. Like when I was at school at AMDA, Harry Woolover, he's like a famous like dance instructor, and he pulled me, he saw me there at like 7 a.m. He was like, you try so hard and you still look like a chicken. So we're gonna just put you through extra year. No lie, I cannot dance. I have no beat.
That is weird.
No, I have no beat. My husband will tell you. He's a guitarist.
That's why you play. I mean, you were dancing. You weren't just playing. There was like stuff in that was very dancey. So that's interesting.
Yeah. I'd probably love to write for dancers.
Mm.
There you go.
That would be probably something that would be like interesting for me.
Cool.
Thank you, Carrie, for that.
One more silly question that brings out deep answers. One food for the rest of your life. That's all you can have. What would it be?
Oh, God, I do this with my son and daughter all the time. Okay. I mean, for me, it really, at this point, has to be sushi. I'm like obsessed with sushi. Is that as a whole, or is it just?
I love that. That's a sneaky answer.
Sushi's sneaky because you can get a lot on the plate. But if it was like only a salmon or only, then pasta. For sure, hands down pasta. I'm Italian,
I think sushi's a very elegant answer. I love that. It's got everything.
I'm obsessed with sushi. Do you guys eat sushi?
I love it. I haven't eaten it in a while, but I love it.
Oh, I know. Yeah. I love it. It's
I'm a boy. I have to have just the fish and the rice by itself.
No seaweed.
I can seaweed, just none of the soy sauce that most people put on it.
If you believed in reincarnation, what part of history would you have totally said, oh my gosh, I lived that part?
Okay, well, I already have been here 100 times. I've been a Jewish mystic seer where it was like pretty high up, like where I was a female. And they didn't let a lot of females in, but I was that at one time. I was supposedly a funny black guy. I was told this by a woman who was like no mumbo jumbo in the Hollywood Hills when I was 23 years old. She did pastels and she told me everything. Like I sat down, she was like, I'm so sorry your dad Joe died on Christmas. That's how she started my session. in the hills. I'm not joking, by the way. This is totally real. She told me almost to the T things like that my brother was going to get very ill. She told me exactly how he was going to get ill. And that all had like, this woman was incredible. So she told me that I was all these things in my past life. I do believe I was I do believe in reincarnation. And I just believe that we come back here to be better each time. That's how I've always viewed it. Like, I remember being asked like, oh, and I asked my kids too, like, you know, especially when they were younger, because I think you still are connected to wherever. I feel like we're all connected. That's how I feel. I'm not a big like organized religion person, but everyone should have whatever freedoms they want to do what they need, as long as it's within kindness. And like, you like a goat, then go be with a goat, as long as your goat doesn't hurt. You know, like, I'm not going to be with a goat, but you know what I mean. So like, people can do whatever they want in that sense. But I don't believe in organized religion, but I believe in us as a whole. And I always thought that like, if we passed, if like a movie screen came down, this is what I used to think when I was little, and that your life flashed before you, like really quick, because we're not in the same time zone. And then you had that decision to go right back and like do a new life and just the next layer. That there was like a layer involved, that we all, you know, we learn different things as we come down. I can't explain how I would be able to, I don't know like how people are so, I think we've all been here. I don't know. I know that's just so cheesy, but I do believe it.
It's not
You're
cheesy.
talking Buddhist, so no, that's not cheesy to us.
You know, and like, I really do believe that. And I do believe we know truly like nothing. People love to talk so much about like what they know instead of like living. That's what I tell my kids all the time. Get the fuck off those electronics. Stop caring about what somebody else is doing and do something for yourself. And being on those things is not doing something for yourself. You are literally getting sucked into. It's really important to eat and be with people and break bread and learn about people. That's how you learn about yourself, is by like learning about other people and going, oh, what's my barometer within that? If you're always just with yourself or with this, I just don't get it.
Mm-hmm. This is great, because we were going to sort of wrap up with, what do you want to leave us with? And I feel like that's the zone you're in right now. So when you look back at, if there's anything you wish you'd said that you hadn't said, you're kind of saying it, but is there anything else along that line, or you want to go deeper with that, or something else you want to make sure that you've said before we say goodbye?
No, I just love you. And I'm so grateful that you've allowed me this moment with you. And Alex, I'm so glad to have gotten to know you today. You have no idea. It's important that we connect. You know, it's been a gift to be able to talk to you today.
Oh, and thank you so much.
May I suggest that I know you've got a lot of other stuff, but we have a 5-minute after party. Alex can send out a Zoom link to you really quick and just have an after party 5-minute debrief.
Yeah.
And say goodbye. So what we're going to do is, I just have to say that this is so beyond, like I was like, I hope today it's more kind of fun and it goes into all these unexpected places. And so beyond that, I mean, you've gone to such beautiful places with us, and, you know, from the music to how you raise your kids to what makes you tick. It's everything I guessed about you is beyond what I guessed. So the depth of it, the joy of it, the clarity of it, the humanness of it, that you're not trying to be perfect, all that stuff. So couldn't be more thrilled. I'm looking forward to our after party in 5 minutes.
So much.
Thank you so much, Beth.
Thanks, guys.
So we're going to say goodbye for now, and we'll see you in a second. Look at your email for a link.
Okay.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.